Hey everybody, welcome to Recording Studio Loser. Over the past couple of videos, I've had a few people ask about my tracking template. Not something I really thought there would be interesting going over, but the more I thought about it, the more I'm like, you know what, this is a set of tools that I've laid out specifically for tracking to speed up that workflow, and some of you may be interested in that. This is not a Pro Tools specific thing. I am using Pro Tools. However, we have been building this out in Cubase. I've started building it out in Logic. I'm diving more and more into other DAWs here. The thing about this system right now, it is HDX. It has been for almost 10 years. All that to say, this is not Pro Tools specific. You can do any of this in any DAW. These are the thoughts behind why I've set it up like this to speed up workflow for any number of different genres. It says right here, you're not subscribed. You should hit the subscribe button. It says you should do it, as this is a starting point for me. So even when I use it, this is meant to change from session to session. And you can see like why I put certain things in here and then remove them if I don't need them or adapt them for different use cases. But let's just dive right in here. So here we are in Pro Tools. Let's go ahead and bump over to our edit window because I feel like this is a little easier to kind of see what's happening. Over here, you can see all of our tracks listed. This is literally the tracking template. This is what gets imported into a session. And again, you ask me in a month and this thing will probably be slightly different, but the idea and the general structure stays the same. General structure. At the very top, I have 3 clicks. Why in the world would I have 3 clicks? Because some people like different sounds of clicks. Some people like different subdivisions. And if they're all right there and they're all already mapped to my click, which we can go over the ear system a little bit later, that just makes it that much faster to move through. So I can quickly turn on or off certain clicks. I can just listen to a quarter note. I can bring in a subdivision. Or I have different accents if I want. I can bring all those in, not use any of them, and I can decide what goes to their ear. I can also set one of these up as a side chain to give me like pumping things in certain situations live, which is cool. But that's the idea there. Those are all going to an instrument bus, which you will see later. Next, I have a talkback section. This changes every time, but the layout is always here ready to go. I have my control room talkback, which is wired right here. So if I arm this in input mode, you can see it right there. Now, this is a free plugin here, Mutamatic. I've got NS1 on here, just getting rid of noise because without it, the talkback on this thing can be kind of noisy. It's just built into my dangerous remote. It can be a little squirrely, so NS1 kind of takes care of that for me. It's always there. Very little latency. Mutamatic, this is a fantastic plugin. This is on all of my talkbacks as well as my vocal tracking effects, and I can show that to you. But if it has audio on it, it'll let it pass through unless I hit play. Let me go ahead and turn the clicks off so we don't have to listen to that. But if I hit play, it's going to turn my talkback off. So I can leave it open the entire time and not worry about turning it on or off. I typically like to talk to people anytime I stop recording or playing anyway. So it will do that if I'm playing or recording. If the transport's moving, it will mute any of that. That's a totally free plugin, SoundRadix. Go pick it up. It's crazy useful in a lot of different scenarios. I have another set of talkbacks set up for the band. So I can make these active. I can turn them on whatever input I'm on if I need them. I can also duplicate them from different tracks. So say back here, which we'll get to later, I've got my scratch vocal track that's on Digi 4. So that has one set of inputs and sounds like something on its own. But when we're stopped, I can also set that over here to a talkback and have it sound completely different, routed completely different to the ears. And again, Mutamatic, all of that is going to the ears via the talkback channel, which are Behringer PowerPlay 16s, same things I had when I bought the building 13 years ago. So there are a couple of inactive, and you'll see a lot of inactive tracks on this because they're here if I want them, if we want to play with sounds, but most of the time they just get hidden. Kick sample and a snare sample, just in case there's something that we either want to make samples and see how they lay on, or if there's a certain sound that we just can't achieve and we need to layer something and we see if we have the sound. A lot of times that happens in the mixing stage, but for those kind of like production-y things that happen during tracking, I like to have it available. It rarely gets used. Now we move on to the meat and potatoes section of the board here. A lot of these things you'll see a lot of plugins are inactive. They are here, but they're inactive. There are some certain things that just always stay on. For instance, on the drums here, you see like all these in red here are my drums. This starts the room section, and then you see decapitator here, which it doesn't really like to run live, and you can see what happens when I turn this on. It's not bad. It adds 62 samples of delay. I mean, let's just see what that is, for instance. So here, this is a simple calculator you can pull up. 62 samples at 48 kilohertz is 1.2 milliseconds. You're not going to notice it. The thing about decapitator is it doesn't really like to play well in a live situation, especially when mixed parallel with something. I just leave it off. Same thing with my parallel compression. I don't really need it in this stage. It's there if I want to start playing with it. We've moved on from drums. We're not recording drums anymore. I can turn those on, but they are there because that is on my mix template, but this is just to get a sound. These rooms are rooms that I tend to use a lot: a snare verb, shell verb, a drum room, which is basically just a lexicon, kind of large, dark room. This is like just the sound of so many records to me, and then that is rolled off. I've got a little bit of reverb here. I mean, that is compressed, and then just a little bit of kind of tweaking stuff just to give a sense of space. But honestly, I don't know if we can show this. If I arm these drums, that noise, that's my vestibule mic. So if I pull up my security system and my front door camera, I can speak into it and we will hear it through those microphones out there. So here's my front door. Hello. I love it. That room sounds disgusting. But when recording drums, because it's so far from the drums, it is so bombastic. And I can show that to you in another session. Other than that, if we're working backwards here, we have an R88 at the back of the room. Pretty standard for a drum room mic, stereo ribbon. I also use that for gang vocals, so that can get flown around. It doesn't have to be part of the drum set. It's just there, it's on, it's ready to go. A couple of ribbons, wides. These are OMA ribbons, high up in the room on either side as a spaced pair. And again, I mean, you'll see some things like trim, like just in this instance, I just gassed them like crazy. A little bit of reverb, just a little bit of reverb just to kind of bring that up. I have my Soyuz Ambisonic set up on the drums. It can move around, but this is just a super versatile overhead sound. I really like this thing on overheads, and it's kind of become more and more a favorite. Past that, typical drum stuff. I can change out microphones, but the channels work. Everything is always set up, ready to go. And all this stuff is routed. So I have going to the ears. I don't give them every single drum, and there's a couple reasons why, but I'm giving them the kick in, snare top, hi-hat, toms, and overheads. And I do have a little bit of the rooms if they ask for it, but by default, those are off, typically. Bass. So this gets a little interesting. So I kind of operate off of folder tracks. Think of them like groups. It's really just folder tracks so that I don't have to look at them if I don't want to. So a bass DI, a DI gets recorded every session, but I love to record amps at the same time. And a lot of times bass players just don't even bring amps to the studio. I have an SVT cab, always mic'd up, ready to go. It's a 410 SVT HLF Ampeg. I think I said all of that backwards. Ampeg SVT HLF 4x10. So that goes to a bus called bass reamp. That just hits this aux track here, which I can turn on Saturn to get kind of like a Fendery amp sound if I want, like a Bassman. It also goes through Corey Wong here that has the cab section bypassed. Just getting like a cool little bass amp sound. That goes out of my burls, sent back to the room, and is reamped through that cab. What this allows me to do is at the same time, I can record bass DI and a reamp at the same time if I want to. More than likely what has happened after we've gotten a good solid take, we just kind of sculpt that cab tone and just print it in place because it's right there. It's ready to go. The amp's done. It's good. Those don't have to be armed. They don't have to get used. I can just use the DI. And then there's the rest of like things that I love for bass. Double tap. This is on every mix that I do. I love this compressor. Submission audio, geniuses. Max bass for when you need it to fill kind of the space in that low end. I'm not using this very often. Soothe is here, ready to go, like as a side chain from the kick if I need it. And again, like a couple Pro Cs, again, side chaining from the kick and snare just to give breath in the event that this is like a heavy rock or metal record. It just moves it along a little faster. Don't remember where I picked up those tips, but that is fantastic and I use it a lot. Next, we move on to our keys section here. So I have a piano upright that is always mic'd up, ready to go. So that is in the other room, and although the plugins are turned off, it's ready to go with a channel strip that I love for keys. Billy Decker, the oven. This thing is an incredible saturation unit for keys. I freaking love it. And a couple reverbs that are ready. And again, it's already mapped to the keys channel on the Hearback system. So you kind of see how this is working so far. B3 is mic'd up, ready to go. The Leslie portion of the B3. If we're using it, I can just arm it, and it's on. Our keys. This is a software instrument. So we have a couple controllers around the building that if we plug them in, we have keys sounds ready to go. And I can pull up anything in Contact or Arturia or whatever virtual instrument we want, and it's ready right there. With the instrument that I can quickly use whatever predefined keys that we have. Nothing right now is plugged in and turned on out there, so it's not seeing it. My Rhodes is turned on and ready to go. All that stuff is there and mapped. Next, we get to guitars. This is where it gets a little versatile, I guess. So different things I've liked using from different records. I love miking cabs and amps. It's rare that I will use a plugin just to track something because we have really good cabs here. We have good amps here. I like doing it that way. There's nothing wrong with using plugins. I mean, you see I have a ton of Neural DSP stuff. If I want to use it, it's great. But this is just how I like to work. So we have an all guitar bus. That is the final thing that catches everything guitar related. So within that, we have a delay. This is just something I can toss in that has Echo Boy, CLA, Deverb, and then a low pass. I think I had a certain delay and I just watched Andrew Masters' video and his delay sounded incredible. So Andrew, I'm sorry, I totally stole your setup here. I've been using Replica XT, the delay, for the longest time, and I needed to get out of a rut. And I saw Andrew's video where he just redid a Paramore song, and that sounded incredible. So I was like, I need to use Echo Boy more. And so Andrew, I literally just yoinked all of your stuff here. Sorry. Sorry, not sorry, bud. We have another Fuller track for rhythm guitars, and this is our starting point basically every time. And these are my cabs that are ready to go mic'd up. My Fried Egg Audio, which is by far my favorite cab I've ever had. Fried Egg Audio. Louis Golden is a one-man mad scientist out there building guitar cabs. I don't know that he does it big time anymore, but these cabs are unbelievable. If you need a cab that is the most versatile box you ever have, a 2x12 with a removable back, you can quick change speakers if you want to, but the cab itself sounds unreal, looks unreal. Louis Golden, Fried Egg Audio, look him up if you need a cab. And my Mesa cab is something I scrounged the US for, a 2001 vintage oversized Mesa cab with 2001 Celestion vintage 30s in there. There is definitely some mojo, a little bit of woo-woo around those speakers in general. All of that's routed. All that's going to the ears through our guitar chain. And you'll see these follow the fader. So if I toss the Mesa cab to one side, it's going to do that in their ears as well because I'm sending to stereo stems in their mixers. So it just kind of helps clean up their ears a little bit during the recording process. And all those are, of course, set to pre-fader so that I can solo something and listen, but it's not going to affect their mix out there. There's also a DI ready to go in the event that we want to reamp. Now, all the stuff that is inactive here, this is ready to be pulled in, ready to go. So I can set my cabs up in a way that I can run these and print to quad tracks. I've done it a lot, especially when we're doing like metal records, where we're mainly recording a DI and then having all these reamps happening at the same time. So what the benefit of printing to a quad track, and I have a whole other video explaining this in great detail. You basically end up with, on this quad, you see here, this particular track, right, y'all. One of these will be a DI. One of those will be just an amp DI, meaning no cab print. The trim plugin takes care of muting those first two, or last two, however you have it laid out. And then you only hear the cab print, and you can pan it however you want from there. So the benefit there, everything is nice and tidy. You don't have to worry about arming 4 different channels. It's just there ready to go. So go watch that video if you're curious. Those are always imported, but most of the time they stay hidden just to keep things nice and tidy. Past that, I have a ton of different folders that I can literally copy these into and then remap that just have different sounds imprinted on them, different effects if we need to kind of do some like sculpting of the guitar as we move. So then I just drop them into those folders. Those all get dumped to either the instrument bus or the all guitar bus, however I decide to do it in the moment, and we can kind of keep rolling and everything's mapped, bussed, ready to go. Next, acoustic guitar. There's always a DI out there ready to go and a microphone for acoustic ready to go. It's as easy as just hooking up a different mic if I want a different sound. In this instance, again, folder track so that I can quickly hide what I don't want to see. But I have always hated recording an acoustic DI. Recently, I've gotten into recording it again because I kind of like the way a DI can play with a microphone, kind of getting certain levels of attack out of it. The thing that a ribbon will do on an acoustic is that you have that like intimacy and that finger attack in the right hand. A ribbon will pick that up really well. Condensers can, but they typically don't. So a DI will kind of, if you just fold it in just ever so slightly. So if you really like the sound of a certain condenser, in which case like an 017 I love on acoustics, and you fold a little bit of that DI in, you kind of bring that intimacy back to it, but you have this crazy finished sound of a FET condenser. So I've been recording DIs more and more. Those again, mapped to the ears, ready to go. And on one particular session, I did a ton of double tracking acoustics. So it's literally as easy as select those two, duplicate. I turn off active playlist. I don't want to bring those over. So I had one left, one right. And because these follow in their ears, they're going to have one left, one right. That's why I'm doing it this way. That's the speed. Everything is mapped, ready to go. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of these. R44 is always hooked up and ready to go. It can move anywhere. It's just labeled R44 because I never know what I want to use it for in the moment. It's just on and ready. It is on a wheeled stand, so it can move anywhere in the building. And then I just either duplicate it and rename whatever it's going to be. So say we're doing like Tom hits, and now I have that ready to go, or I can just rename that track right there. It's just meant to move quickly. It is not mapped to anything in the ears because we're not sure what we're using it for in that moment. So I can quickly just pull something over if I want to, and it's there. Tambo is just here taking up space. Typically what happens, whatever mic I'm using for vocals is also the mic I'm using for tambourine. More often than not, it's R44 or whatever's laying around. So I can map that however I want. It's good to go. Vocals, this gets a little more interesting. There's always a couple scratch tracks ready to go. They just have a very gentle channel strip kind of working, a little bit of EQ. I mean, just cutting the low end, and a compressor just so we can hear everything while we're tracking. These are meant for like if the band is recording all together in the same room. So these are for scratch purposes only. I typically barely listen to them. So during a tracking perspective, the band can hear them because they are mapped to the vocals. But in a moment like this, we're paying attention to the rest of the band because we know we're going to go back and record vocals. So I have all of this ready to go. Our live vocal. So this is right now set up on Loudon Eden, which is turned on, ready to go. Auto tune if we need it here. NS1, it's on almost every vocal. And then I have a lot of my favorite plugins here. I mean, RVox, come on, it's on everything. Why not? I should mention one sleeper of a plug here This Mixland Vac Attack, I have inward connection TSL4V. I have it. This plugin sounds bonkers. This thing is stupid expensive. I think it goes for $6,000 or $7,000 right now. That plugin's a steal. Plugin Alliance, or I think you can just buy it from Mixland. So check that out. Vocals are mapped to an effects chain, which I have Echo Boy set up with a slap going into a reverb, and then here we have mute-o-matic again. So now this one is set up opposite of my talkbacks, so that when I'm here and the timeline is not rolling, it is muted. If I hit play, it opens it up. If there is a vocal and we are playing and the timeline is moving, that effect can go through, but it is annoying when you hit stop and you want to talk to somebody. If there's a ton of delay and a ton of verb, it's just annoying. So mute-o-matic, solving problems. After this, we have our final buses. So instrument, basically anything that's not a vocal. Clicks, drums, bass, acoustic, anything that is not a vocal track will get tossed to my instrumental, where if I need to, I have a trim plugin, so I can quickly turn the instrumental down or up in relation to the vocal. That meets up with the vocal on my listen track. Again, another trim in case I need it. Hits just a little bit of in the box compression here. And then this goes out to my MBP. That is my master bus processing, which includes a couple outward preamps. Just doing some very gentle kind of clipping. Audioscape, the G stereo, Neve Portico 2 master bus processor, West Audio NG Tube EQ, and then we are back in. I track through it. I mix through it. I love it. And you can see here, this is the heaviest delay that I have on any of this on the entire template. 407 samples, and we are at 48 kilohertz. That is, so 8 milliseconds. You're not going to hear it, but it's orange because it's saying, hey, this is the main thing that has all the delay on here. You're not going to hear 400 milliseconds. Them out there, they definitely won't, because they're not listening to my master bus chain. They're listening to the direct outs. And if you look here, like, this is the whole idea with this thing. This is the nugget to take away. However you decide to build this for you, something that's replicatable, something that's repeatable, something that's predictable, not only so you can make good mic choices, but so you can make good production decisions, because you have to have kind of a common ground at some point. You have to understand how the equipment's going to react without introducing too many other variables. So I understand there's a ton of variables here on this template. That's because these are things that I've used and I kind of know what I like. Like even down to these buses, like we saw with guitars, these are all for vocals. They're all doing something a little bit different effects, a little bit different reverbs. Like it's just something that I can move really, really fast so that while we're tracking, it sounds like a record. And then when I go back to mix it, or whoever catches the mix, they know what we're going for. But if you look here, the delay compensation on most of these, 36 samples, 0, 36, 33. This is a very, very low latency session. And for those asking, I don't take direct outs from an interface. I'm HDX based. So everything we're listening to is coming from Pro Tools. I don't think you need HDX to do that necessarily anymore. It's just a system that I've had for years and it is expensive to replace and it works. So why would I change it? It wasn't so long ago that it was really difficult to get a system that low latency, but now computers are awfully powerful and we've had that discussion before. The whole idea is if you can keep your session sounding like a record, but the delay compensation and whatever DAW you're using low enough, because if I turn on like silencer here, watch what happens. Just on a tom, one tom. Now I'm introducing 240 samples of delay just on that track. And that has to cascade everywhere across the session. So now we see, oh, my piano now has compensation on it because it's compensating for what's happening on the tom. So this is a very holistic picture that you have to take into account. You can't just toss as much as we like to. And as you stack things like that, it becomes a real problem. As I'm building these things, like there are certain plugins that just do the thing really well as far as low latency goes. Plugin Alliance, they're great, low latency. Sound Toys, fantastic. FabFilter, really good. Waves, hit and miss. Arvox is great. I use it basically all the time. Like NS1, Arvox, that is all over my tracking template. There are certain things you just can't use, unfortunately. Like some of the CLA effects, they sound great, but they just don't work in a tracking context, so I don't use them. You will see on my instrument bus, a lot of these like inactive tracks here are just ready. For instance, like kilohertz tape stop, because how many bands want that like, ew? So I can quickly write an automation on the track itself if I want to, because it is ready, just like everything else on this. You'll see me using a clipper on my listen bus. It's just so in the instance that somebody gets a little spicy with an instrument, because I'm in this room, they're in that room. If somebody turns something up, I don't want to blow my speakers, so I'm clipping. It just kind of keeps level under control. You'll see Spotify. So in the instance that I need to play a reference that is mapped into the session itself, and it is mapped to their ears if I want it to be, so they can hear a reference in real time. All of that goes to a print track, so at the end of the day, I can arm this. It's coming right off my listen bus. I hit record, and now I'm printing a board bounce. So they can take it, they can listen to it in the car. I can also mute the vocal, print an instrumental, or just arm my instrumental print, and they can go home and practice vocals for their next vocal session. So all the stuff's here. It's ready to go. It can look like whatever you want it to look like. Mine is just kind of an amalgamation of colors, just so I can see how things break up. I know some people are way more ADD than I am and how they want to see things laid out. So just real quick, I want to show you an instance of using this template and how it changed after a band was here recording. This is fresh off a band leaving. Nothing's mixed. This is how we recorded. So we can see the template in action. So you can see we took a DI, we printed an amp. Looks like I needed one section that was more distorted, so I duplicated that DI. See, it's all about moving fast. The folder tracks are there because we can automate really quickly. Vocals get duplicated. I'm using folders for stacks. And again, this is just tracking. You can see how we used our different folders for guitars, copied those over to an octave section. Acoustics. Again, here's an instance of a mic I love on acoustic, but it didn't have the attack. So adding that DI. And you can see in this, auto-tune's turned off. All this stuff is here if I want to use it. I don't have to touch it if I don't. It makes the whole process so fast. And in this instance, I think this band recorded for 2 days and we got 5 songs completed. Do this however you want to do it. I'm not saying this is how you do this. You need to build a system that works for you and how you work and how you want to work with bands. That's the important part here. That's what you should take away. If you want to steal some of these ideas, have at it. I've probably taken them from multiple places. Sorry, Andrew Masters, on that delay, although it is tasty. If you guys have questions about anything like this, let me know. Somebody mentioned that they would love to download it and use it. If there's demand for that, let me know. I have built this out in Cubase with the help of my intern. We can build this out in as many DAWs as you guys are interested in. If you guys like this video, hit like, subscribe, ask any questions. If you guys want to see this in use, go ahead and check out one of these videos down there where we're using this live with a band in the studio as a fly on the wall. Go check it out. Peace.